Hey everybody, and welcome back. It's Dr. Matthew Hertert here again with Centre Chiropractic in Boalsburg, just outside State College and Penn State University. And on this rainy day in Happy Valley, I want to take a few minutes to try and answer the most common basic questions that I hear from people about chiropractic. I find even people who've been going to chiropractors for years sometimes have these questions, at least to some degree. And the most common questions that I run across are, what is chiropractic? What are you guys doing? Is it effective? Is it safe? How much does it cost? Why have I heard negative things about chiropractic? And if the answers to those first questions are good ones, why don't I hear more that's good about it? These are great questions. They're legitimate questions. I'm a big fan of people making informed decisions, so I think regardless of whether you're going to the mechanic or the podiatrist, you should understand the answers to questions like that so you can make good decisions for yourself. What I do want you to understand is that this video is intended to be kind of a brief overview to address those things. So when I give brief conversational kinds of responses to those, the answers are going to get a little less specific or a little less accurate for the broader body of chiropractors out there practicing, especially when I talk about what chiropractors do. It's going to get a little less accurate across the broad spectrum there. So if you get to the end of this and you feel like you're still fuzzy, or if I've piqued your interest in one of the areas, please know that there are a lot of other resources there. I'm going to have other videos up which address these questions to one degree or another in them. We've spent a lot of time, money, and energy developing an extensive website really intended to provide a lot of information to you regardless of where you are in the world. So know that those things are there and that they're there for you as a resource. So this first question, what is chiropractic? What do chiropractors do? Is, as I said, the hardest one to answer because there's variety in the way people practice. The most accurate, traditionally central answer to that is that chiropractors are concerned with identifying, diagnosing, and correcting misalignments of the joints, primarily the spine, but also the extremities. Now, these misalignments can happen for a whole lot of reasons. I'd probably spend 5 or 7 minutes just talking about that. But a lot of it is obvious stuff that you would think of: car accidents, falling off a ladder, repetitive microtrauma, sitting at a computer day after day after day, playing with a mouse and the keyboard, having your head stuck forward. I think most people even have the experience of catching themselves throughout the day with their ears scrunched up around their shoulders because they're experiencing stress in their life. So all these things can contribute to those or cause those misalignments. And there are far more simple and common things, like even just poor diet. If you're not eating a really balanced diet, your muscles, your ligaments are not going to be able to be as healthy and support your body through normal day-to-day stresses. So there are a lot of factors that contribute to these. The reason they're important to correct are not just because you're usually in pain or you can't function the same way when things are misaligned, but it's another kind of traditional part of chiropractic, which is our concern about pressure on the nervous system. Those big spinal nerves that come out between your vertebrae connect your brain to every other organ system, cell, tissue in your body. So it is what allows your brain to coordinate everything to work properly, to digest your food, to respond to an injury, to heal it. At the same time, if your kidney is in trouble and needs more iron or potassium or calcium or oxygen, it may not be able to get that message through to your brain to let it know it's in trouble and it needs help. So there are chiropractors who are not that concerned about this neurologic function, but the traditional essence of the profession has been concerned about that. I know a lot of chiropractors who really consider themselves to be neurologists who are working with your nervous system by way of your joints and soft tissues. Which brings me to the biggest variation there, which is working with the soft tissues. The term physical therapy really refers to working with muscles, ligaments, stretching and strengthening exercises, intense massage to break up scar tissue or spasm, sometimes muscle stim, therapeutic ultrasound, those kinds of things. That's probably the single biggest variance, as you'll find out there amongst chiropractic practitioners, are those who practice who simply want to remove the misalignments, correct those, and there are others who want to remove the misalignments but also want to support you with physical therapy to help your body hold the adjustments longer. So that's the best and most concise answer there. When it comes to effectiveness, there are kind of two ways I see to answer this. One is to point to research, which again there's a lot on the website, but I'll mention one specific one in a moment. The second one is to address the fact that a lot of people, I don't think, know that chiropractic was being very aggressively attacked for a long time from the outside. Profession that saw us as competition in the marketplace and worked very hard to put us out of business, to the extent that in the early 1900s there were over 40,000 jail terms served by chiropractors in the United States for practicing medicine without a license. Until it was established in court that we weren't practicing medicine, we didn't want to practice medicine, we were really practicing a separate and distinct form of health care. Despite that concerted long-term attack from the outside, chiropractic has not only survived, it's thrived. So I know this is sort of an anecdotal response to the effectiveness, but we are primary care physicians. We're one of the only 3 primary care physicians in the United States: medical doctors, doctors of osteopathy, and doctors of chiropractic. We're in Medicare, we're in the VA hospitals, we're integrated into a lot of other hospitals and medical facilities around the United States. University of Orthopedics here in State College has a chiropractor on staff. We're covered by insurance, almost all insurance plans, and we're primary care physicians, so you really don't need a referral in most cases to go see a chiropractor. So I think that the fact that we managed to push through that difficult era and achieve such stature in the healthcare condition primarily speaks to our effectiveness. We don't have a lot of money to lobby our way into these circumstances, so I think it really speaks to how effective we are. In terms of the research, the study I want to mention is just 2 years old. It was done in 2009 at University of Chicago's Med Center. Okay, so this is a medical study, and their hypertension unit. They're looking at high blood pressure and a lot of different treatments that claim to have impact for lowering high blood pressure. They looked at drugs and surgery and a whole host of more alternative kinds of practices like diet, meditation, etc. Not only did they find chiropractic was the most effective treatment for high blood pressure, they found it was twice as effective. It was more effective than any 2 pharmaceuticals being used in combination. Any 2 drugs for high blood pressure being taken at the same time. So people who have been in families going to chiropractors for a long time, or chiropractors, I mean, none of us were really surprised by these the study findings, but it was nice to have a sort of legitimate, medical, non-chiropractic source verify our claim there. So again, you can go to the website. There's a lot of research. We have 3 pages of research up as of right now that link to different studies on different kinds of healthcare conditions, not just musculoskeletal ones like neck and low back pain, but visceral organ conditions as well, and pediatric health problems. So this brings us to the cost and the safety. The cost, again, there's a little variance there, which I think you'll be able to understand as a layperson, assuming you are a layperson. There's going to be a big difference if you live in downtown Chicago versus living out here in Penns Valley in the cost per visit. It's going to be a difference if you're a cash client versus if you have insurance and a copay. There's going to be a cost difference if you're seeing somebody who's just correcting misalignments versus doing physical therapy work. So I've traveled a lot around the country and visited a lot of chiropractors in a lot of different states, and the range I've seen, it really is between about $25 to $45 a visit. So especially when you consider the cost, let's just talk about something simple and straightforward, low back pain. Okay, if you talk about the cost of surgery to intervene with a chronic low back problem, or long-term physical therapy, or muscle relaxers and painkillers long-term, not to mention the side effects of those, let's just be liberal and pick an easy number to work with here. Let's just say you see a chiropractor 10 times for a cost of $450. That's a pittance compared to the cost of some of those other interventions. So the more you look at this stuff, in my mind, the more chiropractic starts to look at a pretty conservative place to start care for a lot of healthcare problems. The safety answer is a similar kind of answer. There's a lot of research on the website, which I'll just go let you look at if you want to. I think the most powerful statement as to the safety of chiropractic has to do with malpractice costs. I teach a class at Penn State for which I had to look these numbers up a couple years ago. Last year I saw numbers for was 2005. And in 2005, the average medical doctor's malpractice insurance in the United States was $91,000 a year. And the average chiropractor's malpractice insurance that same year was just over $5,000 a year. There's an $86,000 difference there in malpractice costs. And sad though true, things really tend to follow the money, at least in our world. So I think that you can make sense of the fact that if chiropractors were really hurting people severely or frequently, in either case, somebody would be making a lot more money off us. The last question that people usually come up with is, why have I heard negative things about chiropractic? Well, there are really 2 reasons for that, and they kind of go hand in hand. The first has to do with that concerted effort I mentioned before to discredit the chiropractic profession. And this is not conspiracy theory. This is well documented in a lot of different contexts. It even resulted in a Supreme Court case called Wilk versus AMA, which was settled in 1990. And the Supreme Court judge in that case found the American Medical Association guilty of antitrust practices, meaning they were trying to put other businesses, competitors, out of business. And it wasn't just chiropractors they were after. They had what was called the Committee on Quackery to try and discredit and disrepute rolfers and chiropractors and osteopaths and, you know, a lot of other competing organizations in there. So they were found guilty. They had to publish an apology in their journal, the Journal of the American Medical Association. They had to disband the Committee on Quackery. They had to give a large sum of money to the chiropractic colleges to conduct chiropractic research. So this was kind of a widespread throughout the culture attempt to, you know, put chiropractors in a place of disrepute so people would stop going to them. If you step back and think about the larger implications of that, that also implies that all the young people who were going through medical school at that time to try and become medical doctors either got no information about chiropractic, or they got hyperbole, misinformation, rumor, they got strong negative statements about chiropractic that were not necessarily based on any research or any actual information. So I don't want to give them, I don't want to let those doctors off the hook, because I think it's personal responsibility to inform yourself about things like that. When I started in practice, I didn't know much about rolfing or acupuncture, so I went and learned about that so I could speak intelligibly to my clients who had questions about those things. But I do want to cut them a little slack, because they went through school in a time where they were given a lot of misinformation about that, and I'm sure just like everybody else would want to be able to trust our medical schools, I'm sure those med students wanted to trust that too. So especially older doctors probably have a lot of inaccurate ideas and not well-informed ideas about chiropractic. The other thing that I think is important is that, you know, once a lot of people have heard this good information, their question is, well, you know, gee, now that I've heard all this, why am I not hearing more positive about chiropractic? And the kind of sad but simple answer there is we just don't have a lot of financial resources as a profession to market or do public education about what we do or how valuable it's been shown to be for people. We don't have enough money to work on trying to overcome the old bad stereotypes, let alone educating people on the modern state of chiropractic. We got to spend money on lobbyists to try and retain our rights. There's research that we want to fund. So there's a very little bit of money that has to go to a lot of different places. And the mainstream medical professions have the support of pharmaceutical companies and medical equipment manufacturers to help support those efforts. They really probably don't have a lot of vested interest in showing that a few adjustments might work as well as one of their products. So those are the general answers. Again, there's a lot more information out there for you, a lot that we've tried to compile on our website. If you have questions or comments, you can post them below this video. I'll try and check back regularly to address those for you. Or you can email me at the office. You can call me for a free, no cost, no obligation consultation. You can wander around our website some more. You can check out or subscribe to our free blog. We've got a free email newsletter you can sign up for. Or you can just go ahead and call our awesome staff at 466-2000. Whether you're in pain and trying to get out of it, or whether you want to live by wellness and try and avoid those problems before they happen, you will be glad that you did. So thanks for your time today. I appreciate it, and blessings to you and yours.